The Galactic Council chamber was bigger than any building on Earth. The ceiling stretched so high that clouds formed near the top. Representatives from 17 different alien species sat in their special sections, each breathing their own type of air. Some needed water, some needed gases that would kill humans. Some floated in zero-gravity bubbles. All of them were looking at the two humans standing in the center of the room. Ambassador Lisa Martinez stood straight and calm. She wore a simple blue uniform with Earth's flag on her shoulder. Next to her, Captain Jake Patterson looked relaxed, even though he was surrounded by aliens who had been traveling through space for thousands of years. Humanity had only figured out faster-than-light travel 70 years ago. The Zafrani counselor spoke first. The alien looked like it was made of living crystal, and its body pulsed with different colors when it talked. Ambassador Martinez, we have reviewed your proposal. What you suggest is not just dangerous. It is impossible. The Void Nexus has destroyed every ship that tried to enter it. 3 civilizations, all more advanced than yours, have lost entire fleets there. This is suicide. Lisa smiled. She pressed a button on her tablet, and a huge hologram appeared in the air. It showed a swirling mass of purple and black energy, twisted into shapes that hurt to look at. The Void Nexus, she said calmly. You're right. It's killed everyone who tried to go through it. But the Council needs the trilithium isotopes that can only be found there. Without them, the defense grid won't work when the Devourers arrive. A murmur ran through the chamber. Everyone knew about the Devourers. They were coming from another galaxy, eating entire star systems. The defense grid was the only thing that might stop them, but it needed massive amounts of power that only trilithium could provide. The Kelleran representative raised one of its many tentacles. Kellerans looked like giant octopi, but with 20 arms instead of 8. Even if we need the trilithium, sending ships to certain death helps no one. Your species is too young. You have been in space for less than 2 centuries. The gravitational forces in the Nexus would tear your primitive ships apart in seconds. Jake stepped forward. With respect, you haven't seen what humans can do with primitive technology. We went to our moon using computers weaker than a modern calculator. We split the atom before we invented the microwave oven. Being primitive just means we're creative. The Melody Ambassador sang its words, as its species always did. The translation came through everyone's earpieces. Creativity cannot overcome physics. The Nexus bends space and time. Ships age 100 years in 1 second, then reverse age until they never existed. Metal becomes liquid, solid becomes gas. Energy becomes matter, then becomes nothing. How can creativity fight that? Lisa pulled up more holograms. These showed human ships, but they looked different from normal vessels. They seemed to bend and flex like living things. We're not going to fight it, she said. Everyone who died in the Nexus tried to resist its forces. They built stronger shields, harder hulls, more powerful engines. They tried to push through by force. That's like trying to punch water to make it stop being wet. The ancient Yorthan Prime leaned forward. The Yorthans were the oldest species in the Council, and this one had been alive for 10,000 years. Its voice sounded like grinding stone. Then what do you propose, young humans? Jake grinned. We're going to surf it. Silence filled the chamber. The translator systems buzzed, trying to find the right words in 17 languages. Surf? Asked the Quellian observer. Quellians changed colors to show emotion, and this one was flickering through confused patterns of purple and orange. Lisa explained. On Earth, we have oceans. Huge bodies of water with powerful waves. Waves that can crush you if you fight them. But humans learn to ride them, to use their power instead of resisting it. We've done the same thing with avalanches, with hurricanes, with volcanoes. We don't fight nature. We dance with it. The Zafrani counselor's crystal body turned dark red, a sign of anger. This is not an ocean wave. This is a cosmic anomaly that breaks the laws of physics. Perfect, Jake said. Humans love breaking laws, especially the ones that say something's impossible. More murmuring filled the chamber. Several species were clicking, humming, or flashing lights at each other in their own languages. Lisa raised her voice. The Council needs trilithium. No one else will get it. Humanity volunteers. We're not asking for permission. According to Council law, any member species can undertake any mission they choose, as long as they don't endanger others. We're only risking human lives. The Kelleran's tentacles twisted in what looked like frustration. 12 ships. You want to take 12 ships into certain death. 12 ships with volunteer crews, Jake corrected. Every single person knows the risks. They're excited about them. Excited about dying? The melody song was harsh and discordant. Excited about doing something everyone says is impossible, Lisa said. It's kind of our thing. The Yorthan Prime stood slowly. When it stood, everyone else went quiet. The Council cannot stop you if you are determined to do this, but understand, when you fail, no rescue will come. The Nexus is a quarantine zone. No Council ship will risk entering it, not even to save you. Lisa nodded. We understand. We're not asking for rescue. We're asking for trade agreements when we return with the trilithium. The crystal Zafrani actually cracked, a sound like breaking glass. When you return, you speak as if success is certain. Jake shrugged. We've got a saying on Earth. Failure is not an option. So it's not confidence, it's just fact. We'll get your trilithium. The Council chamber erupted in discussion. Some species thought the humans were brave. Others thought they were insane. Most thought they were both. The Yorthan Prime raised an appendage for silence. Very well. Humanity may attempt this mission. If you succeed, the Council will discuss full membership and voting rights for Earth. If you fail, your species will be remembered as brave fools. Lisa and Jake looked at each other and smiled. We'll take those odds, Lisa said. As they walked out of the chamber, Jake whispered to Lisa, Think they'll be surprised when we pull this off? Lisa whispered back, They'll be more surprised when they find out this was the easy part of our plan. Behind them, the alien representatives continued to discuss the insane humans who thought they could survive the impossible. The Quellian observer changed to a thoughtful shade of blue and said something that would later prove prophetic. Perhaps we should pay attention to these humans. Any species crazy enough to attempt the impossible might be crazy enough to achieve it. The Melody Ambassador sang a mournful song for the humans who would soon be dead. The Kelleran made notes about humanity's brief contribution to galactic history. None of them suspected that in 6 months, everything they thought they knew about what was possible would change. The age of humanity's rise in the galaxy was about to begin, and it would start with 12 ships flying into certain death with smiles on their crews' faces. 3 months had passed since the meeting with the Galactic Council. The human fleet gathered at Station Perseus, humanity's newest space dock built just for this mission. 12 ships floated in space, but they didn't look like any ships seen before. They seemed alive, their hulls rippling slightly even while docked. Each ship was different, like 12 experiments in how to break the rules of spaceship design. Chief Engineer Amy Chen stood in the main briefing room of the ship Defiance. Around her, 200 humans and 7 alien observers sat waiting. The aliens had volunteered to come despite their governments begging them not to. They wanted to see how humans plan to do the impossible. Amy touched her tablet, and a hologram of the Void Nexus filled the room. The swirling chaos of purple and black energy made everyone lean back. All right, people, let's talk about why everyone else died and why we won't. She zoomed in on the hologram. Every ship that entered the Nexus tried to resist it. They built shields to block the gravitational waves. They made hulls thick enough to withstand the pressure. They used engines powerful enough to push through the chaos. And they all died because that's like trying to win a fistfight with a black hole. Lieutenant Commander Brad Foster raised his hand. So we're not going to resist it. We get that. But how do you work with something that turns metal into pudding and makes time run backwards? Amy grinned. Great question. XYZ9, you're from Quellian. Your people have been in space for 3,000 years. What's your species' approach to dangerous cosmic phenomena? The Quellian observer flickered through several colors before settling on a nervous yellow. We avoid them. If something is dangerous, we go around it, very far around it. Exactly, Amy said. Every advanced species does the same thing. You see danger, you avoid it, or you shield against it. But humans? She pulled up a video from Earth. It showed a person on a small board, riding a massive ocean wave. We see danger and ask if we can ride it. The room watched as the surfer danced across the wave, using its power to go faster than any human could swim. When the wave tried to crash down, the surfer dove through it and came out the other side. That's what we're doing with the Nexus, Amy continued. She brought up the ship specifications. Look at these hulls. They're not rigid. They're made of programmable matter that can change shape in microseconds. When a gravitational wave hits, the hull doesn't resist. It bends, flexes, and redirects the force around us. She pointed to the engine designs. These engines don't push against the chaos. They have sensors that detect the energy patterns in the Nexus and surf along them. When space twists left, we twist left. When time speeds up, we speed up with it. We're not fighting the river. We're becoming the river. Captain Jake Patterson entered the room. Morning, everyone. How's the science lesson going? Just getting to the good part, Amy said. Captain, want to explain Operation Rubber Band? Jake, walk to the front. Sure. Each of our 12 ships has a different configuration. Defiance here is built for flexibility. Hunter is built for speed. Wanderer can phase shift between dimensions. Phoenix can die and rebuild itself. We don't know which approach will work best, so we're trying them all. A young pilot named Danny Kim raised his hand. Sir, what about the time distortions? The reports say some parts of the Nexus age you 100 years in a second. Good news, Jake said. We've got temporal stabilizers, not to stop time from going weird, but to make sure we all go weird together. If one part of the ship ages fast, the whole ship ages fast. That way we don't have the bridge crew turning to dust while engineering is still young. The Melody Observer sang a worried tune. This seems to rely heavily on chance. What is your success probability? Amy pulled up a chart. Depends how you calculate it. Traditional models say we have a 12% chance, but those models assume we're flying traditional ships with traditional methods. Brad laughed. 12% is pretty good. Columbus had worse odds sailing to find India. The Wright brothers had worse odds getting their plane to fly. Hell, the first humans to eat oysters probably had worse odds of not being poisoned. The room laughed. Even some of the aliens made their species equivalent of amused sounds. Jake got serious. Look, I won't lie to you. This is dangerous, insanely dangerous. But every human in this room volunteered. You knew the risks and you came anyway. Why? An engineer named Carl Washington stood up. Because everyone says it can't be done. And humans have been proving everyone wrong since we climbed down from the trees. My grandmother was on the first Mars colony, said pilot Maria Rodriguez. Everyone said they'd die. They're still there, growing potatoes in Martian soil. I just want to see the looks on those smug council faces when we come back, added Nancy Lou from navigation. Jake nodded. Those are all good reasons, but here's mine. The galaxy needs this. The Devourers are coming. Without trilithium, everyone dies, not just humans. Everyone. And if we're the only ones crazy enough to get it, then crazy is what the galaxy needs. Brought up more technical data. Each ship has 3 AIs working together. One manages the hull flexibility, one handles navigation through the chaos, and one keeps the crew alive. They're all connected, sharing data in real time. When one ship finds a safe path, all ships know instantly. Define safe, said the Quellian, now a skeptical orange. Safe means probably won't kill us immediately, Amy said with a smile. We're not looking for actually safe. That doesn't exist in the Nexus. We're looking for survivable. Jake walked among the seated crew. We launch in 6 hours. Each ship has its own approach vector. We'll enter the Nexus from different angles, like throwing 12 darts at a board and hoping one hits the bullseye. Once inside, we stay in constant communication. If your approach works, everyone else copies it. If it doesn't work, well, the rest of us learn what not to do. What about extraction? Asked Sam Cooper, one of the mining specialists. Even if we get to the trilithium, how do we mine it while reality is having a seizure around us? Amy pulled up another design. Mining drones that can exist in multiple dimensions at once. They mine in one dimension, store in another, and deliver to a third. The Nexus can't distort what it can't fully touch. The Kelleran observer's tentacles were tightly coiled, a sign of stress. This is madness. You're talking about using technology that shouldn't exist to do things that can't be done. Exactly, Jake said. That's why it'll work. The Nexus expects ships to behave logically, to follow the laws of physics. We're not going to do either. Brad stood up. Captain, the crew's ready. Every person on every ship is trained and prepared. We've run 10,000 simulations. How many did we survive? Asked Danny. About 3,000, Brad admitted. But those were the boring ones. The fun simulations were the ones where we died in new and interesting ways. Learned something from every death. Jake checked his watch. 5 hours and 40 minutes to launch. Everyone get to your ships. Run final checks. Remember, once we enter the Nexus, normal physics stops applying. Don't trust your eyes. Don't trust your instruments. Trust your instincts and your crew. As everyone stood to leave, the Yorthan observer, who had been silent until now, spoke in its grinding voice. I have lived for 2,000 years. I have seen many species attempt many impossible things, all failed. But I have never seen anyone approach impossibility with such joy. Perhaps that will make the difference. Amy patted what she thought was the alien's shoulder. Want to know a secret? We're not joyful because we think we'll succeed. We're joyful because we get to try. Win or lose, we're about to do something no one's ever done before. For humans, that's better than safety. The crews headed to their ships. In 5 hours, they would fly into hell itself. And they were smiling about it. The void Nexus looked like a wound in space. It twisted and writhed, purple and black energy folding in on itself in ways that made the human brain hurt to watch. Lightning made of pure gravity crackled across its surface. Time itself seemed to stutter and skip around its edges. The 12 human ships held position at what everyone called the death line, the point where the Nexus's effects began to reach out into normal space. Captain Jake Patterson sat in the command chair of the Defiance. His bridge crew worked at their stations, checking readings that changed every second. Outside the view screen, space itself was breathing, expanding and contracting like a living thing. All ships, this is Defiance, Jake said into the comm system. Final check, sound off. Hunter ready, came Maria Rodriguez's voice. We're tuned for speed, going to hit the Nexus like a bullet. Wanderer ready, said Captain Bill Taylor. Phase shift engines online. We'll be slipping between dimensions like a ghost. Phoenix ready, added Captain Susan Park. Regeneration. Systems active. We can die and come back 17 times before we're really dead. One by one, all 12 ships reported ready. Jake could hear the excitement in their voices. They weren't scared. They were eager. Remember, Jake said, the moment you enter, everything you know about physics becomes a suggestion, not a law. Trust your training. Trust your instincts. Trust each other. Hunter, you're up first. The ship Hunter shot forward. It accelerated faster than any human ship should be able to move, its specially designed engines screaming. It hit the edge of the Nexus and immediately started to spin. But it wasn't spinning out of control. It was matching the rotation of the nearest gravitational eddy. Hunter to fleet. Maria's voice came through heavy static. It's working. The ship's riding the current. Temporal variance is at 30%, but we're compensating. Hull integrity holding. Jake watched his screens. Hunter was being stretched and compressed, its flexible hull rippling like water, but it was moving deeper into the Nexus instead of being torn apart. Wanderer, you're next, Jake ordered. Bill Taylor's ship shimmered and became translucent. It entered the Nexus and immediately started phasing in and out of reality, existing in multiple dimensions at once. Where Hunter was surfing the gravitational waves, Wanderer was stepping between them. This is incredible, Bill reported. I can see 7 dimensions at once. The Nexus can't grab us if we're not fully here. One by one, the ships entered. Each used its own method. Phoenix died 3 times in the first minute, its systems rebuilding the ship each time it was destroyed. Dancer spun through the chaos like a figure skater, using angular momentum to stay stable. Ranger simply refused to acknowledge that the laws of physics had changed, its reality anchor forcing a bubble of normal space around it. Defiance, moving in, Jake announced. He looked at his crew. Danny Kim at navigation, Amy Chen monitoring engineering from the bridge, Brad Foster at tactical. Remember, we bend but don't break. Danny, take us in. Danny's fingers danced over his controls. Entering Nexus in 3, 2, 1. The universe went insane. Up became down. Left became yesterday. The bridge stretched like taffy, then snapped. Back to normal. Jake aged 50 years, then became a child, then returned to his normal age, all in the span of a heartbeat. Colors that didn't exist flashed across the view screen. Gravity well at 300% normal, Danny shouted. Temporal shear in 7 seconds. Roll with it, Jake ordered. The ship corkscrewed through space, riding the edge of the gravity, well like a skateboard in a bowl. The temporal shear hit, and suddenly they were moving through time as well as space, skipping forward in stuttering jumps. Amy was laughing like a maniac. Captain, the engines are at 400% efficiency. The Nexus is feeding us power. We're using its own chaos as fuel. Through the static-filled comms, Jake could hear the other ships reporting their status. Some were having easier times than others. The ship Boxer had lost 2 dimensions but was somehow still flying in the remaining one. Pioneer was aging backwards, but its crew was adapting. Look at that, Brad said, pointing at the view screen. Ahead of them, space was folding into origami patterns. A massive gravitational wave, big enough to crush a moon, was rolling toward them. All ships, tsunami incoming, Jake warned. Don't fight it. The wave hit. Defiance stretched like a rubber band, its programmable matter hull extending to impossible lengths. Jake could see the back of the ship from the front, space having curved into a loop. They were inside out and outside in at the same time. But they were alive. Yahoo! Came a voice over comms. Jake thought it was from Explorer. This is better than any roller coaster. The alien observers who had volunteered to come were mostly huddled in their specially shielded compartments. The Quellian, on Defiance, had turned a color that didn't translate, somewhere between terror and awe. How are you enjoying this? XYZ-9 asked through the intercom. Reality is breaking. That's the best part, Brad called back. When reality breaks, anything becomes possible. 6 hours into the Nexus, they had traveled a distance that should have taken months. Space kept folding, offering shortcuts that existed for seconds before vanishing. The ships learned to anticipate them, diving through cosmic wormholes that appeared and disappeared like bubbles. I'm reading something ahead, Danny said. It's stable? That can't be right. Jake looked at the readings. In the heart of the Nexus, where chaos should be absolute, there was a pocket of calm. All ships converge on my position. I think we found our target. The 12 ships, each battered and warped but still functional, gathered together. They had to constantly adjust positions as space kept trying to put them inside each other, or millions of miles apart. Are you seeing this? Maria asked from Hunter. Jake was seeing it. Through the madness of the Nexus, they could see an island of stability, and inside that island, asteroids that glowed with their own inner light. Trilithium, enough to power the defense grid for 1,000 years. That's impossible, said the Melody Observer on Phoenix. Its song translated through the stable space cannot exist here. Neither can we, Jake pointed out. But here we are. Amy was scanning the asteroids. It's like the eye of a hurricane. The chaos cancels itself out right here, but the edges are moving. We have maybe 10 hours before this pocket collapses. Then we better get to work, Jake said. All mining ships prepare for extraction. Everyone else maintain position and keep us stable. But as they moved toward the asteroids, Danny noticed something. Captain, look at the time readings. Jake looked. The asteroids were surrounded by layers of different time flows. At one edge, time moved 100 times faster than normal. At another edge, it nearly stopped. How do we mine through that? Someone asked. Jake smiled. He loved it when the universe presented a puzzle. We don't mine through it. We mine with it. Amy, can we put our equipment in the fast time and our storage in the slow time? Amy's eyes widened as she understood. We could mine for months and minutes. Captain, you're either a genius or insane. Both, Brad said. Definitely both. The ships moved into position around the asteroids. Space continued to twist around them, but they had learned its rhythm. They were dancing with chaos, and for now, they were leading. Begin mining operations, Jake ordered. Let's grab what we came for. Outside, the Nexus raged and twisted, trying to destroy them with every second that passed. Inside their ships, humans were laughing and working, treating the impossible as just another day at the office. The Quellian observer had stopped trying to understand and was simply recording everything. When it returned to council space, no one would believe what it had seen. Humans hadn't conquered the Nexus. They had made friends with it, and now they were stealing its treasure while it wasn't looking. The stable pocket in the heart of the Void Nexus was about the size of Earth's moon. Inside it, hundreds of trilithium asteroids floated in perfect silence, glowing with a soft blue light that seemed to come from within. But between the human ships and those asteroids, time itself had gone insane. Mining specialist Carl Washington stood at his station on the ship Harvester, staring at readings that shouldn't exist. Captain Patterson, I'm seeing 17 different time streams between us and the asteroids. One is moving backwards, another is moving sideways, whatever that means. Jake's voice came through the comm from Defiance. Carl, what if we don't fight the time differential? What if we use it? Carl looked at the data again. His eyes widened. We set up extraction at the fast time edge where we can mine for hours, in seconds. Then we process at the slow time edge where we have all the time we need. Captain, that's brilliant. Thank Ambassador Martinez, Jake said. It was her idea. Lisa, you want to explain? Lisa Martinez was on the bridge of Defiance, having insisted on coming despite everyone trying to talk her out of it. It's simple. Humans have always turned disadvantages into advantages. The time distortion isn't a barrier, it's a tool. Carl was already working on the problem. We'll need miners who can handle their bodies aging at different rates. One arm might be in fast time, while another is in slow time. I volunteer, said Nancy Liu from Explorer. I've always wanted to give myself a high five from yesterday. The human miners suited up in specialized gear that looked more like liquid than solid. The suits could stretch across time zones, keeping the wearer alive even when their head was aging faster than their feet. It was impossible technology, built in 3 months by humans who didn't know it was impossible. First team, deploy, Carl ordered. 20 miners launched from their ships, connected by tethers that existed in multiple dimensions at once. They hit the first-time barrier and immediately started to blur. To the watching crews, some miners seemed to be moving in fast forward, while others moved in slow motion. This is Mike from Team 1, came a voice that sounded sped up like a chipmunk. I'm in the fast zone. Everything outside looks frozen. Beginning extraction. This is Jennifer from Team 2, came another voice, this one deep and slow. I'm in the slow zone. I can see Mike, he looks like a hummingbird on coffee. Setting up processing station. The miners worked in a dance across time. Mike and his team in the fast zone could mine for what felt like hours, while only seconds passed for the ships. They filled containers with raw trilithium, then passed them to the middle zone where time moved normally. From there, the containers went to Jennifer's slow zone team for processing. This is insane, said the Kelleran observer watching from Phoenix. Its tentacles were tied in knots from stress. You're mining across temporal boundaries. The energy required should tear you apart. Should, agreed Captain Susan Park. But should is just a suggestion. 3 hours into the mining operation, something went wrong. The stable pocket started to shrink. All teams, the eye is closing, Amy Chen announced from Defiance. We've got maybe 2 hours before this space collapses. We've only got half the trilithium, Carl reported. We need more time. Jake made a quick decision. Wanderer, can you phase shift the pocket? Make it bigger? Bill Taylor's voice was uncertain. I can try. But if I fail, we might collapse it faster. Do it. Wanderer shimmered and began to phase between dimensions, dragging parts of the stable pocket with it. Space stretched like bubble gum. The pocket didn't get bigger, but it got deeper, extending into dimensions the human mind couldn't visualize. "It's working," Bill shouted. "I've given us another hour." The miners doubled their efforts. In the fast time zone, Mike's team had aged 3 months in 3 hours, their suits keeping them alive but not stopping the temporal effects. They were mining with beards that hadn't existed when they started. "Worth it," Mike said, his voice rough from months of shouting orders that had taken seconds in normal time. "We're getting enough trilithium to save the galaxy." The Quellian observer on Defiance had given up trying to understand and was simply documenting everything. "Your species is insane," HFY said. "You're treating fundamental forces of the universe like tools." "Humans have been doing that since we discovered fire," Jake replied. "Fire should have killed us. Instead, we cooked with it." The pocket continued to shrink. The calm space was being eaten by the chaos of the Nexus. Lightning made of frozen time crackled across the mining area. One bolt hit a container of trilithium, aging it 1,000,000 years in an instant. The trilithium didn't decay. It got stronger. "Did you see that?" Amy asked. "The temporal lightning is charging the trilithium. It's becoming more powerful." "Then, let's get hit by more lightning," Jake ordered. "All ships extend collectors. We're going to catch time lightning." The ships deployed metal nets into the temporal storm. Lightning struck them, and instead of destroying the ships, the energy was channeled into the trilithium containers. What they were collecting was becoming more valuable with every strike. "1 hour remaining," Danny announced. "The pocket is collapsing faster." In the mining zone, the teams were pulling out. Mike's team had aged 5 months. Jennifer's team had aged 5 minutes. The time differential was getting worse, but they had nearly all the trilithium. "Last load coming in," Carl announced. "We've got 90% of the asteroids." "That's enough," Jake decided. All teams returned to ships were leaving. But as the miners returned, something emerged from the collapsing pocket. A ship unlike anything they'd ever seen. It was made of what looked like crystallized time, shifting between past and future with every second. "What is that?" Brad asked. The ship broadcast a message in a language the universal translators couldn't handle. Then it broadcast in English, learned somehow in seconds. "You survived," the voice said. "We are the Eternals. We have been trapped in this pocket for 10,000 years. Or 10 seconds. Time has no meaning here. We came for the trilithium and became prisoners of the Nexus. We're leaving," Jake said. "Follow us out." "Impossible. The Nexus holds us. We are part of it now. But you dance with it. You play with it." "How?" Lisa answered. "We don't fight what we can't beat. We make friends with it. The Nexus isn't evil. It's just chaotic. Like a storm. You can't fight a storm, but you can sail through it." The eternal ship pulsed. "We fought. We resisted. We tried to impose order." "There's your mistake," Jake said. "Order is overrated. Chaos is more fun. Want to try it our way?" The eternal ship hesitated. "We have forgotten how to not resist." "Then follow us," Jake said. "Copy what we do. Don't think, just act." The 13 ships, 12 human and 1 eternal, began to leave the collapsing pocket. The Nexus attacked with everything it had. Gravity waves, time shears, dimensional splits. The human ships rolled with each attack, surfing the chaos. The eternal ship tried to copy them. At first it moved stiffly, still trying to resist. Then slowly, it began to flex and bend like the human ships. "Yes," the eternal voice said, sounding amazed. "We are surfing. This is illogical. This is impossible. This is—" There was a pause. "This is fun," Jake laughed. "Now you're getting it. Race you to the edge." 13 ships flew through madness, carrying enough trilithium to save the galaxy. Behind them, the stable pocket collapsed completely, becoming just another part of the swirling chaos. "Captain," Amy said, "we've got company." Jake looked at the sensors. The Nexus itself seemed to be following them, not attacking, just following, like a curious pet. I think it likes us, Danny said. Of course it does, Jake replied. We're the first ones who ever played with it instead of running away. They flew on through impossible space, humans and one very confused Eternal, carrying salvation for the galaxy in their holds. The Nexus swirled around them, no longer an enemy but something almost like a friend. The Quellian observer had changed to a color that meant complete bewilderment. None of this makes sense. That's why it works, Brad said. The moment it starts making sense, we'll probably die. They kept flying, dancing with chaos, racing toward the edge of the Nexus and the shocked galaxy waiting beyond. The Galactic Council had been in emergency session for 6 days straight. Half the representatives expected to receive news of humanity's destruction. The other half had already begun discussing how to divide Earth's resources after the species went extinct. No one expected what their sensors showed them now. 17 shapes emerged from the void Nexus. Not limping, not damaged. Racing. The 12 human ships were performing synchronized barrel rolls through space, leaving trails of energy that spelled out "We're back" in universal standard. Behind them, something else emerged, a ship made of crystallized time that no one recognized. And behind that, impossibly, the edge of the Nexus itself seemed to be following them, reaching out with tendrils of chaos like it didn't want them to leave. The Zafrani counselor's crystal body went completely clear, a sign of absolute shock. Its voice came out in a whisper. This is not possible. The Nexus cannot be navigated. The communication system activated. Captain Jake Patterson's face appeared on the main screen, grinning like he'd just come back from vacation. Galactic Council, this is Captain Patterson of the human ship Defiance. Mission accomplished. 12 cargo holds full of trilithium isotopes, plus some extra we picked up along the way. Also, we made some new friends. The screen split to show the Eternal ship. The crystallized being inside was visible, shifting between states of matter. Greetings, Council. We are the Eternals. We have been trapped in the Nexus for millennia. The humans freed us by teaching us something we had forgotten. What did they teach you? Asked the ancient Yorthan Prime. How to play, the Eternal replied. We spent 10,000 years trying to impose order on chaos. The humans showed us how to dance with it instead. Lisa Martinez appeared on another screen section. Council members, we're transmitting our navigation data now. We've mapped 3 stable corridors through the Nexus. With our guidance system, any ship can make the journey. The Nexus isn't a barrier anymore. It's a shortcut. The Kelleran representative's tentacles were moving in patterns of disbelief. You didn't conquer the Nexus, you didn't survive it, you befriended it. Amy Chen's voice came through the comm. Conquered is such an aggressive word. We prefer to think of it as mutual understanding. The Nexus isn't trying to kill anyone, it's just energetic like a cosmic puppy. You just need to know how to play with it. Jake added. We're requesting permission to dock and transfer the trilithium. Also, humanity formally requests recognition as a full council member with voting rights. I think we've proven our worth. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Several species were flashing, clicking, and humming in their own languages. The Melody Ambassador was singing a song that translated as pure confusion. The Yorthan Prime raised an appendage for silence. Captain Patterson, your ships appear to be different from when they left. Jake laughed. Yeah, the Nexus customized them a bit. Defiance can now exist in 3 dimensions simultaneously. Hunter can break the light speed barrier without using hyperspace. Phoenix has died and rebuilt itself so many times it's technically immortal. We've all got upgrades. The Nexus upgraded you. The Quellian counselor was cycling through colors so fast it looked like a rainbow having a seizure. It likes us, Danny Kim said, appearing on screen. We're the first ones who ever played with it. It gave us gifts. The sensor readings were going crazy. The trilithium in the human ships wasn't just standard isotopes. It had been charged with temporal energy, making it 100 times more powerful than normal trilithium. This will power the defense grid for 10,000 years, the Zafrani counselor said, its crystal form pulsing with amazement. The Devourers won't stand a chance. About that, Jake said. We've been thinking. The Devourers are coming from another galaxy, right? Eating everything in their path? What if instead of fighting them, we teach them to farm? Silence filled the chamber. Farm? The Yorthan Prime asked. Sure, Lisa explained. They eat energy, right? The Nexus produces infinite energy. We could introduce them. Maybe they'll get along. The Nexus likes things that play with it. The Devourers might be just what it's looking for. The council members looked at each other. The humans were suggesting they solve an existential threat to the galaxy by playing matchmaker between two cosmic forces. That's insane, the Caloran said. That's human, Jake corrected. We've got a saying. If you can't beat them, introduce them to something that can. Or we do now anyway. We just made it up. The human ships began docking procedures, but they were still doing unnecessary loops and rolls, like they couldn't help but play even in normal space. The Eternal ship docked alongside them, its pilot still marveling at the concept of fun. Inside the council chamber, the representatives watched as humans unloaded enough trilithium to save the galaxy. The mining team from the fast time zone had aged months and needed medical attention, but they were laughing and high-fiving everyone they met. Mike, who now had a 5-month beard from his hours in fast time, was interviewed by a council reporter. Would you do it again? The reporter asked. In a heartbeat, Mike said. I aged 5 months and 3 hours, mining in yesterday while storing in tomorrow. It was the wildest ride of my life. When do we go back? The council called for a formal vote on humanity's membership. One by one, the species voted. Even those who thought humans were insane voted yes, especially those who thought humans were insane. The vote is unanimous, the Yorthan Prime announced. Humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all associated rights and responsibilities. May the galaxy survive your membership. Jake stood before the council, still wearing his flight suit that had been twisted through 17 dimensions, and showed it. Thank you, Council. We promise to use our membership responsibly. Now, who wants to learn how to surf the Nexus? We're offering lessons. Half the council members immediately said no. The other half were quietly asking for more information. Brad Foster was talking to a group of young Quellian observers. The trick is to not think about it. The moment you apply logic, you're dead. You have to feel the chaos. Become the chaos. But chaos is dangerous, one Quellian protested. So is order, Brad replied. Order makes you predictable. Chaos makes you free. The Eternal approached Lisa. Ambassador, your species has given us a gift. We were trapped for eons, and you freed us with joy and insanity. How can we repay you? Lisa smiled. Teach us about time. We've learned to surf it, but you're made of it. Together we could do incredible things. Like what? The Eternal asked. I don't know yet, Lisa said. That's what makes it exciting. Over. The next days, the galaxy watched as humans integrated into the council. They didn't follow protocols. They kept suggesting insane solutions to ancient problems. They played practical jokes on species that had never heard of humor. They turned council meetings into brainstorming sessions where no idea was too crazy. Let's solve the Devourers by teaching them to photosynthesize, one human suggested. What if we turn black holes into power stations? Another proposed. Has anyone tried talking to dark matter? A third asked. The older species were horrified and fascinated in equal measure. The humans were changing everything just by being themselves. Week later, when the first non-human ship successfully navigated the Nexus using human techniques, the Melody Ambassador sang a song of realization. They haven't just given us trilithium, they've given us a new way of thinking. Jake was in a bar on the council station, buying drinks for everyone with his crew. A young Kelleran approached him. Captain, your species is only 200 years in space. How did you do what thousands of years of advancement couldn't? Jake thought about it. Every species gets advanced and starts thinking they know how things work. They build rules and follow them. Humans, we're too new to know what's impossible. So we just try everything and see what happens. But you could have died. Could have, Jake agreed. But we didn't. And now the galaxy knows that when someone says something's impossible, they just haven't asked a human yet. The Kelleran's tentacles formed a pattern of amusement. What's next for humanity? Jake looked at his crew, all grinning and planning their next adventure. Oh, we're just getting started. The universe is full of impossible things. We're going to try them all. In the years that followed, pulling a human became the standard term for achieving the impossible through dangerous, insane, but ultimately brilliant means. The defense grid was powered. The Devourers, when they arrived, were indeed introduced to the Nexus, and the two became the galaxy's strangest symbiotic relationship. And whenever someone said something couldn't be done, somewhere in the galaxy, a human would smile and say those 4 words that came to inspire and terrify in equal measure. Want to bet? The age of human membership had begun. The galaxy would never be the same. And in the void nexus, which had been alone for so long, chaotic energy swirled in patterns that almost looked like joy, waiting for its new friends to come play again.